Yeah, so if I want to print these three, so I have to go from names of 1. So this is 1, right? This is 2. This is 3. I have to say 4 because 4 is not including. Okay. So start is included, end is excluded. Okay. So here the 4 is excluded. Okay. So it's going to print these 3 numbers. So let me run this quickly. Let me put this in the other window. One second. I don't see the chat window. Okay, okay. Here is the chat. Okay, fine, fine. I got it. Right, that's correct. Okay. So that's how we are getting number 1 to 4. Okay. I'm going to run this now. Okay, so you can see at the bottom, it is going to print those 3 numbers, 5, 10, and 12. Okay. Okay, now if I want to reverse the list, how can I reverse the list? So what should I put inside the print? So the list, the reversed list is printed. Um, yeah, that's not exactly the syntax. Most of you have got it wrong. So it should be names of colon colon minus 1. Okay. So here the syntax is start, end, and the increment operator. Okay. So the start and end I'm not specifying. So it's going to go from beginning to end. But since I said minus 1, it's going to start from the end to the beginning kind of stuff. Okay. So that's how you reverse the list. I'm going to run this. So you can see at the bottom here, it's a reverse of that list. 5, 22, 12, 10, 5, 3. Okay. All right. Okay, so now let's discuss something new. So these are all the things that we discussed in the last session. Okay. So I'm going to ask you something else, which is what happens if I do print names of, yeah, just this. Okay. What will it print here? Yeah, any more guesses? Yeah, that's an error actually. So if you don't put anything inside those square brackets, you can see PyCharm itself is complaining. There's a small red underline here. That's pretty much saying that I don't know what you mean, but yeah, if I run this program, you can see it should error out. Okay, so it says invalid syntax. Okay, so that's not a valid syntax. You need to provide some index or something inside there. Okay, but if you want to print the entire list, you just do this print names. Okay, so that will print the entire list. Okay, there you go. It prints the entire list. Okay. All right, now let me do this. Okay, I'm creating a new list called nems2 equal to nems. Okay, now here I have 2 lists now, nems2 and nems, right? So if I do nems2 append let's say 10. Okay, append pretty much adds to the list. Okay, so what happens if I print nems2 and I print nems? What will it print for nems2 and what will it print for nems? So I'm gonna remove few elements here. Okay, so take this out. So let's say nems is just 3. Okay, and I'm gonna comment all this, or I'm gonna remove this. Okay, so I am declaring a nems2 equal to nems. I'm appending that, and what does nems2 print and what does nems print? Okay, so this is where Python gets tricky, right? So in Python, if I do this, okay, so this is called shallow copy. Shallow copy means both nems and nems2 are the same list. Okay, if I'm modifying one of them, the other one gets modified. Okay, yes, that's correct. Nems prints 10 twice with nems. Okay, so here, if I run this program, so you can see that both the lists are same. Okay, even though you are appending just to the nems2, it actually appends to nems also. That's the reason being that when I say nems2 equal to nems, that means it's not creating a new list. It's just a different name. The name is different, but it's the same list, same memory, same everything. Okay, so I can access this using nems, or I can access this using nems2. Okay, so when I append something, it's actually appending to the same list. This list is getting affected. This list is getting affected. So when I print nems2, it prints 3 and 10. When I print nems, it also prints 3 and 10. Okay, so this is called a shallow copy. Now you might say, how do I create a different list? All right. What if I want to modify one, but I don't want to modify the other one? Okay. So Python has this concept of deep copy. Okay. So you have to import a module called copy. Okay. And now I'm going to do deep copy. So there is something called deep copy, and I say nems2 equal to copy.deep copy. So what it's doing here is doing a deep copy. That means now nems2 is different, nems is different. Okay, nems2 dot append 10. Okay, okay, so I'm gonna, yeah, that's fine. So at this point, nems equal to 3 and 10. Okay, so that is a list. Okay, or let me append 100 element here. Okay, or 40. Okay, that's fine. So here, so I have nems at this point, nems equal to 3 and 10. Okay, because nems2 modified nems and nems equal to 3 and 10. Okay, now I have a copy module and I'm saying copy.deep copy nems. Okay, so at this point, nems2 is separate from nems. Nems2 have no relationship with the memory, but the content is the same. It doesn't mean that the memory is the same. Okay, now if I do print, this will do what you expect to do. Okay, so this will print 3, 10, and 40. Nems won't be affected. Okay, so this will print just 3 and 10. Okay, so if I run this, so the very first time these two statements correspond to this guy. Okay, and these two statements correspond to this. Okay, so here what's happening is nems2 is a completely separate memory, separate list, because we did a deep copy. Okay, a deep copy means completely create a new instance, create me a new memory, deep copy. Okay, and then give me the new list, copy it over to a new list and give it to me, and then we are appending an element called 40, number element value 40, and then when we print, you get 3, 10, 40, and this guy is not affected. Okay, so this is something to remember. If you assign it to another list, you're not really having a new list. Okay, it's the same list, different name. Okay, so same thing. You might think it's the same thing with a string. So if I have string equal to ABC, okay, and I do s2 equal to s, okay, and I do s2 dot plus equal to d. Okay, so print s2 and print s. Okay, so what does it print? Does string create a new instance, or the string so let's try to see what it prints. Okay, so in the case of a string, it doesn't behave the same. Okay, because string is a basic type. Whenever you do this, it's actually creating, allocating new memory. Okay, so this is where these are the language constructs. You may think of you may think something is screwed up here, but that's how Python is implemented. There are some things that may not make sense coming from another language, especially Java or so on. It has to behave the same, but these are the constructs of Python that you have to get used to. Okay. But yeah, so here for a string is a basic type. Basic types are always going to be, in the sense, it's always going to create a new instance for the basic types. Okay. So if I have a number, let's say x equal to 10, I say y equal to x, and then I say y plus equal to 1. Okay. So here x and y are separate, because when I do y equal to x, since a number is a basic type, it creates a new instance. And when I modify 1, the other one won't be affected. Okay, so print x, print y, print x. Okay, so you can see y value is 11 and x value is 10. Okay, okay, so that is shallow copy and deep copy. Okay, so here copy module also has another function which is called shallow copy. Copy.copy. Yep. So when you do copy.copy, this is the same as doing this. Okay, it's the same thing. It just creates an instance, and it doesn't create a new instance, but it's the same thing as assignment. Okay, but only if you do deep copy, that's when it creates a new instance. Okay, all right. Okay, now let's look at something else. So last time we actually discussed what is a true condition, what is false, and all that. Okay, anything false, zero, none, blank string is a false. Everything else is a true, right? So I'm going to take that. I'm going to put it here. Okay. So what if I say, yeah, let's say I have an empty list. Okay, nems equal to empty list, and if I say if nems, okay, print this will be printed. Else print. Yeah, exactly. So here, which statement will it be printed? The line 38 or line 40? Since nems is a empty list. Okay, so line 38 or okay, so you guys are saying line 38. Some people are saying line 40. Okay, so let's see. So it actually went to the else part. Okay, that means this is evaluating to false. Okay, so maybe I spoke. Oh yeah, I think I misspoke last time. So even an empty list will be evaluated as false. Okay, false, zero, none, blank string, and an empty list. They're all false. Okay. Okay. Now there's a. This is what we are using PyCharm, right? So there's another. When you install Python, automatically you get a Python interpreter. Okay, so if you start typing Python, you will get this. Okay, you will see an app called Python 3.7, but if you install 3.8, 3.9, you'll get that. Okay, so when I click on that, you'll get this command line. Okay, you guys can try it also. So this command line here, I have PyCharm. Okay, the PyCharm is gonna help me type it out. I can go back, change it, but for simple stuff like this, I don't want to open up a PyCharm. I don't want to test all that kind of stuff. Okay, so I can go here and I can say nems equal to empty list. if nems print, let's test this. Okay, so it didn't print anything. Okay, that means that is false. Okay, so you can actually yeah, you can use up arrow, down arrows kind of stuff and so on to test it out, to add new statements. And I can say else print xyz. So you can see it prints xyz here. Okay, so for simple evaluation stuff, you can use this command line interpreter to test it out. What is the behavior of Python? Okay, I mean, you can even paste complex code there, but it's very difficult to go back, edit, and all that. But for simple stuff, you can definitely use this Python interpreter to test it out. Okay, the simplest way is to go here and start typing Python. Okay, if you have Python installed, this will automatically be installed with the Python package. Okay, okay, I do have Python 3.9 also here, but yeah. Okay, okay, so that's another way of testing your code. Okay, if somebody asks you, or usually if a vendor is asking you something where you have to test out a small thing, uh, then pretty much you can use this interpreter instead of doing a Google search. Okay, so if somebody says, what does append function do in a list? Okay, so before the call, you can set up all these lists. Okay, names equal to this, a dictionary, a set, and all that. And when somebody says, what does append do? You try to append it, and you try to print it. Okay, so if you do Google search and all that, it might take even longer. Okay, for simple stuff, you can definitely use this. Okay, all right. Other than that, let's start talking about real code. Okay, now we discussed about if conditions, lists, strings, numbers. Okay, now let's discuss something else, which is dictionaries. Okay, so dictionary is declared something like this. Okay, which is curly brace open and close, or you can also say d equal to dict. Okay, so that means that's a dictionary. Okay, or you can also say, yeah, that's fine. For now, let's leave it there. There are different containers. Dictionary is one of them. What does dictionary do? Dictionary, you can imagine, similar to key value pairs. Okay, so in an English dictionary, you have a word and then you have a meaning for that word, right? So here a dictionary is like you have a key and a value. Okay, so I'm going to say, let's say, um, yeah, let's take an employee. I'm coming up with random names. Matt, his employee ID is 123, or let's do the reverse. Okay, some employee ID, let's say 7001, and his name is Matt. Okay, and let's say 7002, and let's say that name is Bob. Okay, and 7003, the name of that employee is Michael. Okay, so let's say we have something similar to this. Okay, employee ID and employee name. Okay, so what you want to do is you want to write a program where somebody can come in and they ask you a question for this employee ID, what is the employee name? Okay, then you can pretty much put all the data in a dictionary, and then you can use a dictionary to look up those employee IDs and look up the corresponding employee name. Okay, so we're going to look at that. Yeah, there's a question here. Can we use Python console given in Python? Yeah, definitely. So you can, at the bottom also, you can see this Python console here. You can click on that, and that opens up a Python console here. You can definitely use that too. Yep. So same thing as what we use there. You can also here print. Okay, so it also prints that this a test. Okay, yeah, you can use that definitely. Okay, so here let's say you have this mapping employee ID and employee names. So if you want to put in a dictionary, we can do that simply something similar to this. Okay, so I'm going to say d equal to open curly brace and close curly brace. Okay, so here I need to put a comma. After every record, there needs to be a comma there. Okay, so that is a employee dictionary. Okay, so I'm gonna name that as employee info. Okay, or employee ID mapping. Okay, so a dictionary is also called a map in other languages. Okay, so this I'm gonna call it map of employee ID and names, or it's a dictionary of employee ID names. Okay. Okay, now the interesting part. Okay, so what if I want to find what's the name of an employee whose employee ID is 7003? Okay, so all I need to do is employee ID mapping 7003. Okay, so that will print the name of the employee that's corresponding to that ID. Okay, so if I return this, okay, I got an error because line number 52. Okay, what's the error here? Oh, sorry, this outside. Okay, parentheses should be there. Okay. I don't know how it got there. Okay, fine. So you can see that there's Michael here. Okay. So what we did is we found out the name of the employee corresponding to that ID. Okay. So this is a key value pair. The key is an employee ID and the value is the name of the employee. Okay. You can have any mapping to any mapping. Okay. So you can have a string to an employee ID mapping. You can have there are certain restrictions on what kind of things there are in the keys, but we can overcome those restrictions also. But pretty much given a value, you can look up the given a key, you can look up the corresponding value. Okay. So if I want to just print the whole mapping, I can just do print employee ID mapping. Okay. So that will print the entire dictionary. Okay. 7010203. Okay. Yeah, so is it only one-to-one? That's a good question. So it's always one-to-one. You cannot have the same employee ID again. Okay, so that will be an error. Okay, so if I say test, okay, it's always one-to-one. Yep. So you can see at the bottom, there is no duplicate. 7002, it prints a test. Okay, that means it's updated the previous value. It's not going to tell me with the Bob, okay, because the old value is overwritten with the new value. Okay, you can have only one mapping, one-to-one always. And also, if I want to do the reverse, it's easy to, okay. I'm going to do employee name mapping. Okay, so I can say Matt. So if somebody comes up and says, what is the employee ID of a Matt? Employee ID of employee name Matt. Okay, you can have that mapping, which is Bob 7002. But you get the picture. Okay, so you can have a string to number, number to string. You can have even complex types. Okay, so we're going to talk about complex types also. But yeah, something like this. Okay. Yeah, so if you try to print employee name mapping, of employee Matt. Okay, so that is going to print 7001. Okay, so you can see that 7001. Okay, now usually the case is that you don't do this. Okay, most of the times you don't hard code the dictionary. Okay, you might be reading a database, you might be pulling data from a database, but you might be putting in a dictionary here. Okay, so you might pull some data from a database. You can say this is the ID, this is the value. Okay, so this hard coding is just to demonstrate an example of how a dictionary is, what is a key value pair and so on. But in general, you'll be pulling from somewhere, maybe from a file, maybe from somewhere. but you will have this dictionary populated, okay? And then you'll use the dictionary for a function, inside some logic or all that kind of stuff, okay? Okay, now what we're gonna do is now we'll traverse through this dictionary, okay? So if somebody says, hey, can you print all the names that start with M? I want only the names that start with M from that employee name mapping, okay? So let's think about the use case, right? So let's say, if you guys look at this, if I start typing something, let's say I type T, okay? So as soon as I type T, here my browser opened up all the things that start with T, right? So you have Twitter, Throttle Consumers API. Here it actually looked later on. That means T anywhere in the string, okay? But let's say that there is a use case even in the Python, right? So if I go here, if I type something like a C, it shows me everything that's starting with the C first, okay? So here internally, it has some dictionary somewhere which pretty much has all the keywords. And as soon as I type the word C, it's pulling only those words, okay? So let's say you have an application where somebody is typing a name of a person, and as soon as they type the first character, you want to display all the names that start with that character, okay? So let's try to print all the names that start with the letter M, okay? So to traverse through a dictionary, you need, so there's a function which is employee, what are the dictionary name, dot keys, okay? So this is gonna give me all the keys, okay? And dot values is going to give me all the values, okay? So when I say keys, it's going to give me the names, okay? Matt, Michael, Bob, and all that, okay? When I say values, it's going to give me 7001, 2, 3, okay? So those are the values, okay? And the return value is a list, okay? So there are, these are the two methods, keys and values, okay? So let's say we want to find out all the names that start with the letter M, okay? So what I'm going to do is for name in, okay? Now how do I, so here, let me just print the name first so it's clear for you guys. Okay, so here what's happening here, I'm not printing anything here, which is good. Okay, so print name, it printed all the names of the people, okay? So when I said keys, it got me the names which are the keys here, okay? It won't get me the values, okay? So it just got me the names, and I'm doing printing each name at a time and all that, okay? Now, what should I do to get the first character in a string? Yeah, think about it. I want just the first character in a string. What should I do to get the first character in a string? So if I want to print the first character in a string, list, or something, I have to use square bracket 0. Okay, so that will give me the first character. Okay, you don't need 0, 0. Just 0 will give me the first character. Okay, so if name of 0 equal to, we are looking for, sorry, character M, right? Okay, and we print the name. Okay, so that's how we say that anything that's starting with the character M, print the name. Okay, so if I print it out, you can see at the bottom it prints only Matt and Michael. Okay, that's because we said if the first character is M, print the name of the person. Okay, now if you want to print both the name and an employee ID, what should I do there? So here there's another method which gives me items. Okay, so if I do employee name mapping dot items, that will give me two things. One is key one, value one, okay, comma, as a list of things. Okay, so these are the things I would get: key one, value one, key two, value two, and so on. Okay, so it will give me all the items in the dictionary, key and a value, key and a value. Okay, so I'm going to say name and ID. Okay, because this is giving me now two things: a name and an ID. Dot items will give me both the key and a value, and I'm naming those the key as a name and the value as an ID. Okay, so and then I'm saying name of 0, the first character of the name 0, print name comma ID. Okay, so I'm going to print both name and ID. So you can see at the bottom, I'm printing both Matt 7001 and Michael and 7003. Okay, so that's how you traverse through the dictionary. Okay, traverse means pretty much you are iterating over the dictionary. Okay, one element at a time. Okay, now here we said M, right? What if it's a lowercase m? Okay, so we have to do something else. Name of 0 equal to lowercase m also. Okay, now what if I, so this will give me both up, yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's where I was about to go. Is lower, is upper. So because some names might start with lowercase m. Okay, m, I can't think of a name with m, but okay, that's fine. So let's say there is a name called m. Okay, you got a Mary, right? So that is employee ID 7004. Okay. Okay. So now, whatever reason, the Mary's name M was entered into the system using a lowercase m. Okay. Now, if I had the previous condition, let's say I had this. Okay, that will not print the name of Mary, right? Because that doesn't match with uppercase. Okay. Now somebody complains that, hey, your product is not working fine. I requested for all the names that start with M and Mary's name didn't show up. Okay. So you have a bug in your system somewhere. Okay. So you go look in the code, you look in the function, and you see that you are only comparing with the uppercase M, but you have to also compare with the lowercase m. Okay. Because somebody entered into the system using a lowercase letter. Okay. So you have to say something like this: name of 0 equal to lowercase m. Okay, so that is comparing both uppercase and lowercase now. Now somebody comes in and says, hey, I want to see all the names. Okay, so your product is working this way, right? So if I say C, it's showing me all these things. If I say CO, it has to show all the things that start with CO, right? And also anything that, yeah, that's fine. So let's go with this for now, okay? So you have to show all the characters that start with that. Now somebody entered A, okay? The second letter A. Now you're gonna say, and name of 1 equal to A, or name of 1 equal to uppercase A. And you can see that it's getting messy, right? So too many if conditions there, which is not what you want, right? So this will give me all the names that start with uppercase m or lowercase m, and the second character lowercase m or uppercase m and all that. Okay, so if I print this, it will print Matt. Oh, sorry, I have to put this. Okay, so there's a small bug in my code. Okay, so first it has to be, okay, it has to be m or lowercase m, and it has to be small a or uppercase a. Okay, So when I run this code, okay, so I don't have this. I'm going to put this in there. Okay. So you can see that it prints all the names that start with M and A. Okay. But as you can see, if I have more and more characters, this gets crazy, right? So there's a function called is lower, is upper, and so on. So is lower. Okay. So this is a function that is going to convert a given character. Okay, what is that? Is lower, not is lower, but there is a convert to lowercase. Okay, give me 1 second. PyCharm I thought would pop up, but looks like it's not popping up that. Okay. No, easy is going to check for whether it's uppercase or lowercase. I want to convert to lowercase. Okay. Usually, okay, lower. So there is a lower function actually. Yeah. Why is it not showing up here? That's fine. So let's try to print it first and see. Okay, for that we have Python this thing, right? So we'll try this lower of capital A. Lower is not defined. Interesting. And what is this? What is this copy here? Okay. String dot lower. Okay, fine. String has no attribute lower. Interesting. Is it str? Okay. So str dot lower. Okay, fine. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to convert this character to lowercase, and I'm going to just say am. Okay. And string dot lower, the second character. By the way, I'm also going to say something, do something else later. I'm going to even change this condition. But for now, you can see that the first character, I'm converting that first character to lowercase, and then I'm comparing that with the lowercase. Okay, so even if it is capital M or anything, it's going to convert that to lowercase. Okay, and the second character also I'm changing that to lowercase, and I'm comparing with the lowercase a, and then I'm printing that. Okay, so let's try to print this out. Okay, so we got the same result, Matt and Mary. Okay, now let's see why the PyCharm is complaining here. It put a small underlined gray line. So remove redundant parentheses. So I don't need this parenthesis here. Parenthesis there. Okay, so it's pretty much complaining that you don't need that. Okay, I run that same result. Now the thing is, the lower function can take a single character, or it can take a string of characters. Okay, so I can pretty much use our magic 0 and 2 to say MA starting with M and A. Okay, so now the lower function can convert a string or a character or anything. Okay, so here I'm giving two characters, MA or whatever the name, the first two characters of that, and then I'm comparing the lowercase MA. Okay, so it will give me the same result. Okay, so there are many ways to get to do the same thing, but you want to decide which one is the easiest, which one is easy to understand. You don't want to write a big code. If you can do in a smaller statements, that's better, because having a big code trying to read understand is going to take some time, and people don't like that. People just want to read the code like a story. Okay, so if you have something like this, okay, so you're going through the name ID of all the items, and then you're converting the first two characters, comparing with MA, and then printing that. Okay, but if I have like a big condition there, it's still okay, but try to reduce the number of statements. Try to do the same thing with small piece of code. Okay, All right, so here, now you know that str.lower is pretty much going to convert a given string to lowercase, okay? Okay, so str, this class itself, there is also other uses there. So we're going to see that. Yeah, I'll come back to that. But yeah, this is how you're going to iterate through a dictionary, and then you're going to check for certain conditions and all that, okay? Now there is another shortcut also, okay? You want to get all the names that start with that character MA, right? Okay, so there's something called a comprehension. Comprehension means, okay, so let me remove it. I want to get all the names that start with MA as a list, okay? So I declare a list there, okay? So I say name, okay? For name in employee name mapping dot keys, okay? So this will give me all the names here, okay? So what I'm doing here is I put, okay, so let me print this first. Okay, so here what I'm doing is I put a square bracket. That means I'm getting a list, and I'm saying inside for name in the keys, give me the name. Okay, that means it gets me all the names, and I'm putting in a list, and I'm printing that list. Okay, so if I run this, okay, so you can see at the bottom I have a list of all the names. Okay, so this is expected. Now if I want to do the same thing here, I'm going to say if str.lower name of 02 equal to MA. Okay, so here what I'm doing, I'm comparing the first two characters with MA, and if it matches, then give me the name. Okay, so if I run this statement here, it should give me the same result, whatever the three lines are doing. Okay, okay, so there is some error. Lower object, but received a bool. Oh, sorry, this should be closing here, and there is an extra statement here. Okay, fine. That should be good. Okay, so now you can see at the bottom, I got a list of all the names. Let's start with MA, uppercase, lowercase, doesn't matter. So I got all the names. Okay, so this, instead of doing three lines, now I have only single line. Okay, so this is called list comprehension. List comprehension means pretty much I'm declaring a list, also have some code inside the list. Okay, so this is something Python developers like it, okay, because you are squeezing the code into a single statement. And many people like this kind of short code and all that. For some newcomers, it might feel complicated, but pretty much, as you can see from the code here, it's pretty much written here. For you have a for loop, okay? If you put whatever before the for loop, that is the one that is going to be returned. But in addition to the what is going to be returned, I'm doing some filtering here. Okay, I'm also adding a if statement here and all that. Okay, a name. Okay, so if anything matching this condition, I'm only going to get those values back. Okay, so this is a list comprehension. I can also do something like this. So if I want all the numbers from 1 to 10, I can do range 1 to 10. Okay, actually not item, for item in range 1 to 10. Okay, so that should give me all the numbers from 1 to, this should give me all the numbers from 1 to 10. What is it? Illegal target for variable annotation. What is illegal target? Let me do it. Oh, okay. So let's see. Item for item in range 1 to 11. There's a red underlined. Let me try to run it and see. Invalid syntax. Range. Sorry, range takes comma, not. Yeah. Okay. So there we go. So you get a list of all the numbers from 1 to 10. Okay, now if I want only the alternate numbers, okay, so I'm going to increment 2. Okay, that means I'm going to get 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, those kind of stuff. Okay, so here you can see at the bottom, I got all the numbers, every alternate numbers 1, 3, 5, because I have the increment as 2. Okay, so the range function pretty much takes a start and end, and it gives me all the numbers according to the increment. Okay, so if I say 3, it's going to give me 1, 4, 7, 10. Yeah, 1, 4, 7, and 10. Okay, so if I run that, so at the bottom you can see 1, 4, 7, 10 because the increment is 3. Okay, so this putting the code inside the list is called a list comprehension. Okay, so I can even assign it to another list. Okay, so I'm going to say increments of 3. So that is the name of my list. Okay, increments of 3 equal to all the items from 1 to 10 with an increment of 3. Okay, or if I don't want that, I can also do this. Okay. First, I have to declare an empty list. Okay, increments underscore 3. I'm creating a new list. Okay, and then I'm going to say append item. Okay, so here I have to declare 3 statements here. First, I'm declaring an empty list, and then I'm looping through the list, and then I'm appending to the list. Okay, so these 3 statements are squeezed into a single statement. Okay, so this is called list comprehension. Pretty much what list comprehension means that you are declaring a list and you are actually putting an expression inside the list. Okay, so that is list comprehension. Any questions so far? Do we assign name equal to key? Name equal to key. Sorry, Badri, what is that question? Do we assign name equal to key? What do you mean?
Yeah, so here when we say name, it gets the names, right? Matt and Bob. So did we?
If you want to unmute yourself and talk, that's fine too.
Yeah, hello, can you hear me? Hello? Hello, 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 hello.
And ID equal
I
to
can hear you, Badri.
ID equal to value.
Oh, yeah, but I don't think why Praveen can't
Which
hear me.
statement?
Uh,
Oh, sorry, I don't hear you.
hello.
One second. I think the audio is going somewhere. Hold on, maybe it's going to my monitor. Give me 1 second. Audio. Microphone array, speaker. Oh yeah. Okay. Oh, now it should be fine. Yeah, keep talking. Badri, can you talk now?
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Yep.
Okay, perfect. So I just want to know when we say name and when we run, how does the Python know that it should return Matt or Bob or Michael?
Yeah, here when I say keys, dot keys, right?
Okay.
So keys is gonna only give me the names here because the first thing, on the left side of the column. Okay. I can name it anything. I can even say n or anything. Okay. So I just named it name. Okay.
Okay,
So
got it.
Got it. Okay.
Got it. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
So yeah, pretty much anything on the left side of the column is a key and so on. So since I said keys, it's giving me all those values, and I'm saying for whatever the item or name in that keys, if I added some other function code and all that, and I said if this condition matches, give me only those names. Okay. So whatever the condition, if it matches, only give me those names. Okay. So then I assigned it to a list and I printed it out. Okay. So I can actually put it, assign it to a variable also. So that might be clear. Names starting with NA equal to control V. Okay. So that pretty much means that here I have an expression inside a list, and I'm telling it how to define that list. Okay. Here, actually, this is much simpler. So here I have an expression inside a list, and I'm telling it, hey, for this, give me all the elements, and pretty much this is what I want. Okay. So if I want to add another condition here, saying we want a prime number and all that kind of stuff. Okay. So let's say I want only the prime numbers from 1 to 100. Okay. So let's say there's a function called isPrime. Okay. So I can say if isPrime item. Okay, so this function doesn't exist right now, but if you write a function called isPrime that returns true or false or whatever, so what it's going to do is it's going to get all the numbers from 1 to 100, and it's going to evaluate this condition. If that condition is true, then only it will put it in the list. Okay, so pretty much the syntax of a list comprehension is what are the elements you want, some looping, and some condition if you want. Okay. So this condition is optional. If you want a condition, you can apply it, but if not, you get all the elements, some part of a looping and all that. Okay, so it will give all the elements in this loop if this condition matches. And most of the times you will see this code very, very heavily used. Okay, and it might be confusing initially, but you might like it as you keep using it. Okay, yeah, pretty much it can squeeze the code into smaller statements, smaller number of statements. Okay, okay, so I'm Okay, so since I said prime number, right? So let's talk about prime numbers. Okay, so how do you define a function? So we see all these functions like items, keys, is lower. Where is the lower? Okay, here, string dot lower and all this, right? So we see all these functions. What is a function now? If you want to define a function, you say def. Okay, let's say is prime. Okay, is prime number. So you're gonna get a number. Now it's your job to figure out what's a prime number or not. So for now, let's just say this is the syntax of a function. Okay, so um, yeah, so what you have here is a def is a keyword. Okay, you can see it's a different color. That means it's a keyword. This is prime is a name of a function. This number is a parameter to the function. Okay, so what we have is a def name of function and some parameters to the function. Okay, here I have only single parameter, but that's what yeah, that's the name of the parameter is number. Okay, and here I said pass. Okay, so in Python, if you don't have any code, okay, so if I remove this, I want to have an empty function. Let's say print this is not part of function. So this is an error. Okay, you can see a small red here. Also, at the same time, if I run this code, that's going to throw an error right here. Okay, so it says that indentation error expected and indented block. Okay, so here you cannot have an empty function. If you want some empty block, you have to always say pass. Pass means I don't have the implementation. I'm going to come back implement it later and all that. Okay. So here pass pretty much means that I don't have any implementation. Okay. So I'm going to remove this. Okay. So here, yeah. So this is the name of a function is prime, and this is a parameter. Okay. So now how do I find whether a number is a prime or not? So a number is defined prime if it is divisible by 1 and itself. It's not divisible by any other number, right? So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to loop through all the elements and then find out if I can find some element that divides this number. Okay, so I'm going to say for n in range, I want to start from number 2 because 1 always divides the number, every number. Okay, 2 number. If number is divisible by n, okay, that means okay, so here this modulus means that it gives me the the remainder. Okay, so if that remainder is 0, that means I found a number that actually divides this number. Okay, so I'm going to say return false. Okay, so if I'm outside the loop, that's when this will be printed, right? So if that's when this block of piece of code will be executed. So I'm going to say return true here. That means I didn't find any number between 2 to that number. That means that's a prime number. So I'm going to return true. Okay. So this is a definition, or this is a function for a prime number. Okay. I'm going to put that here. Okay. And I'm going to uncomment this. And I'm going to comment this. Okay. So here what I'm doing here is I'm looping from all the elements from 1 to 100. And I'm saying if it's a prime number, give me that number. Okay. So I'm going to rename this variable primes until 100. And then I'm going to print that. Okay. There is some underlines here. I'm going to come back, look at it. Okay. So you can see at the bottom here. So I got all the prime numbers. One, okay, one is a prime number or not is disputable. But yeah, 2, 3, 5, 7, 11, all these are prime numbers. Okay. So what is happening here is I'm looping through all the elements, and then I'm applying some condition here. Okay. That condition can be any valid condition. Okay. And if that condition matches, then it's going to give me that value back. Okay. So that is pretty much what a list comprehension is. Okay. So all you need to do is, if somebody says print all the primes from 1 to 100, you can provide this statement. Okay. Assuming that you have a function called isPrime. Okay. Okay. Since we are looking at the functions, so let's talk about the functions here. A function is nothing but a piece of code that's standing on its own. Okay. So you can call that function anytime you want. But usually you don't put it in between the code. Okay. So you try to put it in a separate module, in a separate function, in a separate file and all that. But here I'm going to put it at the top. Okay. Why do I have to put it at the top? Because if I want to access that function, it has to be defined before. Okay. So if I want to access it here, isPrime. Okay. So isPrime number 3. Okay. So I want to find out if it's a prime number or not. That function has to be defined before this statement. So Python knows that. So Python starts from first line. Okay, it knows that it's a function. It comes to the ninth line and it says is prime. Okay, fine. I know what a prime number is. But if I have this function definition here below that statement, you can see that it's already complaining. I don't know what a is prime is. Okay, so it has to be, most of the times you'll see if all the functions are defined at the top of the file, and then you have some code at the bottom accessing those functions. Okay. So here it doesn't know what isPrime is because isPrime is defined below that statement. Okay. In other languages like C++, Java, this is fine because those are compiled languages. Since you are compiling, it goes through multiple stages. It looks at the file first, figures out the functions, and then it evaluates the statements and all that. So it knows, since it's going through multiple stages, it already knows that. But here Python is an interpreter. Okay, so since it's an interpreter, we actually pretty much tries to interpret the code and starts from line 1, understands, comes to line 9, and tries to find out is there such a function called isPrime. If it finds it, it's good. If it doesn't, it complains. Okay. So the syntax usually is you put all the functions on the top and then you call those functions. Okay. Okay. So that is list comprehension. Okay. So there is something similar, which is a dictionary comprehension. Okay. So I'm also gonna let's look at this, right? So if I opened up a Git bash. Hopefully you guys can see this. Okay. So here, oh, okay. Okay. I'm looking for this ASCII table. Okay. So this ASCII table, you can see that number character A Okay, row 1, 4. Okay, that's not good. Let me go back. Close this actually. Okay, so you can see that there's an ASCII character set. Okay, every character, if you go into the operating system level, characters are a bunch of bits and bytes. Okay, so everything is stored in bytes. Okay, that means it is a bunch of bits. A bunch of bits is a number, and a number is pretty much it can be any number. Okay, so if I look at a character A, the ASCII value is 65. Okay, that's a you can see capital A is 65, lowercase a is 97. Okay, so that's the ASCII value, and that is a character. Okay, so why am I showing you this? I'm going to use that. Okay, so here there's a function called CHR. Okay, so if I say CHR, give me the character for, let's say, 65. Okay, so I say 65. Okay, print. Okay, so if I run this code, uh, as you guys can guess it prints capital A. Okay, so see at the bottom, it prints capital A. Okay, so you can see that. And now, if I say 66, okay, it prints capital B. Okay, so 66 is capital B. You can see this here. Okay, now why am I showing you 65 is capital A, 66 is capital B, and all that? Okay, because I want you to declare a dictionary saying that 65 is capital A, 66 is B, all the way until capital Z, which is 90, 90. Okay, so here you start from 65, you go to 90, you get a Z. Okay, so I want you to write a piece of code that will create a dictionary, which is a character dictionary that has something like this. Character A is 65. Okay, character B is 66. Okay, character C is 67. Okay, you can write some. Okay, so before that, actually, let me show you something else. Okay. So if I want to add an element to the dictionary, so I have an employee name mapping, right? So I have employee name mapping. Let's say a new employee joins later on. I want to add an element. Okay, if I want to add an element to the dictionary, all I have to do is put a square bracket there, and let's say Rob. Okay, Rob equal to, let's say his number is 7006 or 5. Okay, so that will add an element in there. So by putting a square bracket here, it tries to look up in the dictionary. Since there is no element called Rob, it will create that element. Okay, so if I print this employee name mapping, all this. Okay, you can see that there's a Rob here, 7005. Okay, that pretty much means that it added a new element there. Okay, so I'm again going to change. Let's say Bob um, left the company and came back. Okay, so what you want to do is you want to change his employee ID. Okay, so you want to say Bob equals 7006. Okay, so what's happening here is there's already a Bob called 7002. Okay, now when I do this, I'm updating it. Okay, so if the element already exists, it will update. If the element does not exist, it will add that element. Okay, and as you guys can see, Bob is printed with value 7006 because there's no Bob again. Okay, in a dictionary, you can have only one-to-one mapping. Okay, so the keys are unique. I should say actually one-to-one, but it can be one to, yeah, fine. I can also have, yeah, fine. We'll come back to that. Okay. So here I updated the value of Bob. Okay, 7006. Okay, that means whatever the previous value was there, it has updated it. Okay. So pretty much by using square brackets and putting the key inside, You're saying if it does not exist, insert, but if it exists, update. Okay, so that is what that square bracket notation will do there. And there is also some other methods which are get method. Okay, so if you want to access an element, okay, so let's say I don't know whether there's a employee by name, let's say Sam. Okay, Sam may exist or may not exist. Okay, so I don't know, but I'm trying to print it. What happens here is I'm trying to access a key that doesn't exist in the dictionary. If I try to access something that doesn't exist in the dictionary, it will error out. Okay, so if I run this code, it throws an error, key error. Okay, key error is Sam. That means it's saying that I don't know this key. I have an error here. Okay, so that is what the key error is. So how do I know that if Sam exists in that or not? Okay, so there is a, you can do multiple ways. I can say if Sam in employee name mapping. Okay, that means you're pretty much saying if Sam is a key in that dictionary, print that value. Okay, so this time there won't be error. Okay, because Sam is not in there and it will not print this statement. Okay, or I can do here else print Sam is not an employee. Okay, so you have a product that is pretty much letting users enter anything they want, and somebody put a Sam there. You don't want your application to crash. Okay, you want your application to say that Sam is not an employee. Okay, so that is what we are printing here. Okay, so here you can see it prints Sam is not an employee. Okay, so it went to the else part because here this condition here pretty much means that you are saying if Sam is a key in the dictionary, then print that value. Else you're going to print something else. Okay. Okay. Now, if you don't want to write all these statements here, you can also do something like this: print employee name mapping dot get. So what get does is get will return you a none. Okay, if the employee is not found. So you can see at the bottom it returns a none. None means I did not find that element, but so I'm going to return you none. It's not going to throw an error. So in the previous case, if I put square brackets, and if you try to access something that doesn't exist, it will throw an error. But in this case, when you say get and you call something that doesn't exist, it will not throw an error, but it will give you a none object back. Okay. So that's the difference between a get and a square bracket here. Okay. So yeah, if you use a square bracket on the left side of an expression, you say equal to something on the left side, it will update or insert. Okay, but if you use it on the right side, I mean, in this case, you're not assigning anything, but you're trying to read the value. That will pretty much read in the sense of get the value. Okay, so if I do this bold, okay. So here I'm using a square bracket notation, but pretty much I'm trying to read the value. Okay, I'm not trying to update, I'm not trying to insert or anything. I'm just trying to read that value. Okay, so it depends on the context. If you use the square bracket on the left side of an expression, it will do insert or update. This is called a right. This is called right hand side because you can do something like this: x equal to. Okay. So here I'm trying to read the value and assign it to value x. Okay. So this is called right hand side notation. Okay. So this is RHS right hand side, and this is LHS, okay, left hand side. If you are doing LHS, you are adding or inserting. If you are doing RHS, you are doing a read. Okay. So if you're trying to do RHS and you're trying to access an element that doesn't exist, that's an error. But if you call get, it will never throw an error. It will return none value. Okay. Yeah, pretty much it's like instead of writing the 4 lines, I can say a none, and you're gonna get that none object back. Okay. All right. So now you know how to insert an element. Now you know how to loop through the code. You know how to loop through a bunch of key value pairs. You know how to loop through a list. Now I want you to declare, or I want you to create this dictionary, which is character A is 65, character B is 66, character C is 67, and all the way until character Z. Character Z is what? 90. Okay, so that I can do something like this. If somebody asks me what is the ASCII value for character, okay, so let me just do ASCII mapping. Okay, so if somebody says what is the ASCII value of character C, I can just do this. Okay, so I can get the value of that ASCII character Z. Okay, so I'm just going to compile or run this program to show you guys what it prints. Okay, so you have 67 now. Okay, but here I have a lot of missing elements. So I want you guys to write a code that can create this dictionary using a for loop. Okay, and you also know this method called CHR, which will convert a number to a character. Okay, so you can use the CHR function. You can use a for loop. You know how to insert an element into a dictionary. You know how to insert an element into a dictionary and all that. So now write some piece of code that can create this dictionary. And if you guys have any questions, you can ask now.
Uh, can a dictionary have like if for say if there is a name called Matt, and we have an ID over there like 7001 or something. Can we have any other elements associated with that, like date of birth or something else, or is it just one to one?
Yeah, you're right. So that is something that I wanted to talk also. That's a good point. So I can have a value, anything, in the sense I can have a list, okay, or I can have another dictionary. I can have pretty much any object that you have, you can put as a value there, okay. So I can have another dictionary there, which saying his date of birth is whatever the date you want, okay. So let's say you have 0101 1995. Okay, so let's assume that it's not even a valid thing. Okay, so I'm going to put inside the string 01 1995, and let's say city of birth. Okay, city of birth. You can have New York. Okay, so you can have pretty much anything as a corresponding value. Okay, so this is another dictionary here. Okay, for Bob, you can have, let's say, list. Okay, list is pretty much his children name. Okay, so his children name might be yeah. So let's go for simplicity. B, C, whatever. Okay, so you can have over here. So the value can be anything. Okay, so here let's say it's a simple number as we had initially 7004. Okay, and for this element here, let's say I have yeah, another string. Okay, string is pretty much one element. What is the city? Okay. So this is a one-to-one mapping, but still you can see that you can have another data structure there. It can be a name, it can be a string, number, a list, set, anything you can imagine of. You can even declare another class, and I'm going to talk about classes later, object-oriented programming, but you can have another class there and pretty much use that as a value there. Okay. Same thing for a. There are some restrictions on the keys on the left side of the column, but yeah, I will come back to the restrictions in a second. Yeah, so once this piece of code is done, I'll come back to the restrictions there. Okay. Does that answer your question, Srivasu? Or
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it answers me.
All right, guys. But there'll be a surprise gift for a person who does this code first. All right, guys. I'm going to wait for another 2-3 minutes, and then and then I'll show you the solution. But within those, maybe let's say 5 minutes. Okay, so I'll give you guys 5 more minutes, and then you guys can, within those 5 minutes, try to come up with a solution of creating the dictionary. The character has to be the key, and the value has to be the number, corresponding number. Okay, so character A is 65, character B is 66, and all that. So if you have the code, paste it in the chat group. All right, guys. So yeah, that's the right code. So what I'm going to do here is pretty much. So we have this ASCII mapping. I'm going to comment this, but yeah. Yeah. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create an empty dictionary. Okay. I have an empty dictionary there, and what I'm going to do is for I in range. So we want to start from where is that? Okay. So we want to start from 65. Okay. So we say 65. We want to go all the way to 90, right? So that means I have to put 91 because the end is not included. Okay. So I go from 65 to 95, and then ASCII mapping CHR function will give me the character for that corresponding number. Okay. So I said I means 65 to 91. So it's going to go one element at a time. And I'm going to say I. That's it. So that is my ASCII mapping. So if I print this, it will give me this dictionary here. Okay. So you can see at the bottom. So A is 65, B is 66, and all that. Okay. So that is how you create a dictionary and assign elements in there. Okay. So now I can squeeze all this into a single line. Okay. So I can even say ASCII mapping equal to a dictionary comprehension A comma V key comma value for this for I in range. Okay. Um, yeah, the syntax is a little screwed up, but yeah, let me try to squeeze this in there. Okay. Character of I comma I believe that is the one. Maybe not. Okay. So let me. Okay. He's okay. Okay. Sorry. Yeah, that's it. Okay. So here is going to be CHR of I comma I. Okay. So that should give me a dictionary. Yeah. So that should give me a dictionary of the character and the corresponding number. Okay. So this is called a dictionary comprehension. So let me print that. Comment. Yeah, you can see at the bottom, this is the dictionary comprehension. Okay, now you can see the element of the order of elements is jumbled. Actually, you know what? I got a dictionary of tuples. That is not what we want. Okay, so let me just do this. Okay, let me just quickly look up. So let me just open up one of them for examples using dictionary comprehension. Okay, key is to value. Okay, so I have to put a column there. Okay, so let's do that. That's it. So you can see at the bottom, A is 65 and all that. Okay. So here what's happening is all this. Okay, so let me uncomment this one more time. So here are the three statements that I had to squeeze this in a single dictionary comprehension. Okay, so what I'm doing is for I in range, that means it's going to loop through every number. And here I'm saying a character, that means it's going to give me capital A, capital B, and all that. Okay, so the first time it's character capital A equal to 65. Okay, next time 66, character of 66 is capital B, and it's going to say B equal to 66. Okay, and so on. So it's going to loop through all the elements, and it's going to give me that dictionary or ASCII mapping of each character to the corresponding ASCII value. Okay. So that's how you do dictionary comprehension. Okay, so you have dictionary comprehension, you have list comprehension, and so on. Any questions, anyone? Okay, so we have all these things, right? Now I want you to, so we know dictionaries, we know lists, we know how to use loops, we know um, how to do if conditions, how to do print statements, and all that. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a file, a text file. Okay, so I'm gonna say, yeah, say the names. Okay, names.csv or just names.txt for now. Okay, so I'm gonna create a text file that's gonna have a bunch of names. Okay, Bob, Matt, Sam, Rob, Michael, Mary. Okay, so let's say I have all these names. Okay, in a file called names.txt. Okay, so I want to read this file and I want to print it out. Simple. Read a file and print it out. Okay, so if you want to open up a file in Python, you do open and the path of the file. Okay, so in this case, it's the same directory, this code and the other one. So I can just do names.txt. But if it's a different directory, you might have to do C colon or whatever the directory path is. Okay, so it's the same directory. I don't have to specify the path. I can just do open. So here I got a file. Okay, so I can do for line in F. Okay, print line. That's it. 3 lines of code, and that's going to open up a file that's going to print the line. Okay, print all the lines. Okay, so you can see at the bottom, it printed Bob, Matt, Sam, and all that. Okay, so here you can see there is actually 2 lines. After Bob, there's an empty line, and there's another line, and then you have Matt. Okay, that's because in the names.txt there is a new line here, and the print is also printing a new line here. So I'm going to say end equal to nothing. So when I run this code, okay, so you got Bob, Matt, and all this stuff. Okay, so it's reading from the file, it's getting the names, along with the names, it's getting a new line, and it's printing that. Okay, so all I'm doing here is for line in that file, print me, print me, print me. Okay, so that is how you open up a file, you read a file. That's as simple as that. This is the power of Python. Okay, so if I want to do the same thing in other languages like C++, Java, or so on, I have to write at least 10 lines of code. Okay, so in Python, it makes small everything you can. Yeah, so everything is so much built into it that you can pretty much write like 2 or 3 statements and get the job done. Okay, so that's why it's much faster developing in Python. There is some power in there. Okay, now I opened up a file, but I did not close it. Okay, so I'm going to say f.close. That's it. Okay, so that's going to close the file. Okay, so now I opened up a file. I'm reading the file. I'm closing the file. Everything is fine. How do I write to a file? Okay, if you want to write to a file, you have to open the file in writing mode. Okay, so you say W. Okay, so by default, if you don't specify anything, that becomes a reading mode. Or you can also say here R. R means it's a reading mode. Okay, if you don't specify anything, that's also read. Okay, so here I'm opening up a file in writing mode, and all I can do is f.write. Okay, write, and then I'm going to write something like a test. Okay, and then I'm going to say f.close. Okay, so if I run this program, it's going to open up the file, it's going to write a word called text, and it's going to close the file. Okay, so I run this code, everything is fine. If I go here, oh, okay. So what happened is, yeah, so when it opened up the file, anything that was there before, it has overwritten that file. That means the previous contents are gone when I said write this test. Okay, so if I want to open in a append mode, that means I want to add to the file. I don't want to overwrite. Okay, so if I say test2, okay, so it worked successfully, and here also it still gave me test2. The test is gone. Okay. I think to append, I think I have to do A. Okay, so that should do append mode. Okay, so if I go here, test2, test2. Okay, so you got two test2s because I ran this code twice. The first one was test2, and the second time it appended that. Okay, so instead of write, I'm going to do write lines. Okay, write lines will take a list of values. So I'm going to say test2. Okay, and I'm going to append this. So this time I'm going to append something like test4, test5. Okay, I'm going to run this. I go here. Okay, so it added the line after this thing. Okay, so yeah, so let me run this code one more time. So I ran this code one more time, and it also put on the same line. Interesting. Yeah, I guess if I have multiple values, then it's going to append. I'm just going to put a new line. So let me just put test6. Okay. Oh, okay. It still did not print a new line here. So let's manually print it then. Write lines is just writing the lines without adding the lines. Okay. I thought it will write the line. So I'm going to add a new line on my own. Okay. So if you put a /n, that's pretty much a new line. Okay. So you can see it added on the next line and all that. Okay. So that is how you're going to write to the file and everything. So you open up the file. If you say W, okay. So if you say the second character is just W, it will overwrite the previous contents. Okay. If you say add A, which is append mode, it's not going to overwrite the previous contents, but it's going to add to the end of the file. Okay. So this is how you go open up a file for reading, and this is this is how you open up a file for reading, and this is how you open up a file for writing. Okay, as simple as that. Now you can see that I'm doing a open and a close every time I do that. Okay, so in Python there's a shortcut for everything. There's a shortcut. Okay, so you say with open. Let's say I want to read. Okay, so you do this with open as F. Okay, you do F dot. Yeah, so you just do for line in F. Okay, so what the with statement does is with is called a context manager. Okay, that means it is a resource manager or a context manager. Okay, what it does is it pretty much it knows that you're opening up a file. So when this with block is done, these two lines, it will close the file automatically. You don't have to close it manually. Okay, so I don't have to call the f.close and any of that. So the with will automatically close the file whenever it knows that you exited the with block. Okay. So if I run this code, everything is done. And in the bottom, you can see it prints the file contents. Okay. So I can comment this like this also. Yeah. You can see at the bottom, it printed the file contents. Okay. So that is a with statement. Okay. So this is how you open up a file for reading, writing, or anything. Okay. So with statement, you're giving the control to the Python, telling it you close the file whenever I'm done with this, whatever is below that with block. Okay. Once the with block is done, it will automatically close the file. Okay. All right. Any questions so far? So I see very few people actually, almost like 5 or 6, 6 people. Maybe the other people didn't get the message that Saturday got postponed to Sunday. Yeah.
Looks like because initially I had got Saturday's invitation, and later on I got the Sunday's invitation.
Oh, I see. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, yesterday I was busy. I had something else to do. Okay. So yeah, that's fine. So yeah. Okay. So all right. So we learned all these things. Okay. List comprehensions, dictionary comprehensions, opening up files, reading files, writing to files, and all that. Now I'm going to give you guys some assignment, which you guys gonna solve it using PyCharm or any editor you like, and you're gonna send it as an attachment to my email. You can send it to. I'm gonna give you the email also. But what the program that you have to write is, create a file first. Create a file which is something like this. You manually gonna open up a PyCharm, write some file contents there, but the contents are gonna be create a file with names, comma, phone numbers. Okay, so write what are the names you want and a bunch of phone numbers. Create a text file. Okay. Second thing is read the above file using Python. Print all contents. Just print it out. Okay, no need to do any fancy stuff. Okay. Um, Third thing is once you read a file, that means you got a line, right? Now you have a line in the file. Line is nothing but a string. Now you know how you got a string back. You know that string has a name and a phone number. Okay. What I want you to do is store that in a dictionary. Store the content in a dictionary with name as key and phone number as value. Okay. Call this dictionary address book. Okay. Or contact list. Okay. So contacts. That's it. Okay. So in your phone, you have an Android phone or Apple phone, whatever. So if you open up the contacts, you will see the names, right? So when you click on the name, you'll see more information like the phone number, maybe email address, and all that information, right? So that is pretty much a dictionary of a name to a value. Value in our simple case is a phone number, but you can have another dictionary of certain other things. But we'll go with the simple use case that a name to the phone number mapping. Okay, so you're going to read a file and pretty much populate this dictionary. Okay, and the fourth thing you want to do is find all phone numbers. Or first, let's go with the simple use case. Find all names starting with character C. Okay, so make sure you have some names with the character C. Okay, and then find all names that have C anywhere in the name. Okay. So the fourth thing that you have to do here, find all names starting with C. Okay. So anything you start typing C in your phone book, and you see all the names, Kathy or whatever the name of it is. Okay. So all these names. Now you also gonna say find all names that have C anywhere in the name. Okay. So you're gonna display all the names that start with C, but you also want to display all the names that have C anywhere in the name. Okay. So you also gonna print that out. And once you do that, find all phone numbers that start with forget about area code. Let's start with 917 New York area code, okay, or 212. Okay, so you're trying to dial a number, so you press 212. You want to see all the phone numbers in your contact list that has the starting number as 212. Okay, so here the phone number is not a key. Phone number is a value. Okay, so you have to loop through all the values and pretty much figure out all the things that start with 212 and print all their names and phone numbers and all that. Okay. And the seventh thing I wanted to do is, tell me the count or print the count. Not tell me, but print the count or number of elements. Okay? How many contacts you have in your contact book. Okay. And the other thing is, what else? What else do we do with the contacts? Copy and all that, but that's fine. For now, this is okay. So write a program that first. First create a file, place it in the same dictionary, same directory as the code, and then read the above file, print all contents. Make sure you are able to read the file. Make sure you are able to print it out. and then you have the contents, which is name, comma, phone number, name, comma, phone number. Now you know you got a string, name, comma, okay? Now you know how to separate the name and separate the phone number, store the key, store it as a key and values, and then do all these things. Print all the names starting with C, print all the names as a C anywhere, all the phone numbers starting with this area code, and then at the end, print the number of elements, okay? So copy that text in the chat, because once I close the meeting, you may not be able to copy it out. And then you can email the code to here, okay? I pasted or I typed out the email address also. Send that, send your code to that email address and make sure you send it, okay? So this should not take more than half an hour, or in the worst case, 1 hour, okay? So take your time, research on Google, figure out how to read a file if you have to. We already discussed that. But yeah, send your code. You can just send me a snapshot of the code, a file, .py file, or a screen snapshot of the output or input of the code and all that. Okay? Anything is fine. All right, guys. Any other questions? So I don't want to push too much information, because if I push too much information, you may, it may get overloaded. Okay, so I'm covering the high level topics and at the same time trying to cover the breadth of the topics. So that's why I'm trying to go a little faster and at the same time touch all the concepts that you might use it at some point. Okay. Oh, okay. So the previous recording, I actually put it on YouTube. I can actually send you guys the link. Actually, you know what? You can subscribe to this channel here, so you get updates automatically. You know what, actually? One second. Opening up that. Oh, looks like last time I uploaded a video, but for some reason it didn't get uploaded. Some error was there. Okay, fine. So I'm gonna send you the channel link. You guys can pretty much subscribe to that. You get updates automatically. I'm not sure if this link will work. Okay, so the error is video is too long. Wow. Okay, it's not even 1 hour. Yeah, 2 hours video is too long. Okay. Okay, fine. So try to click on this link. See what you get. Do you get?
There's something went wrong.
Oh, you see that, right? Something went wrong? Yeah, okay. All right, but yeah, do you see an option to subscribe to the channel or anything?
The
Do you see anything like subscribe to the channel or anything like that?
no.
Okay. How about this this link here?
Same error. Yeah.
Okay, fine. I'm going to send you guys a link later, or maybe in the next session I can give you the. I can look into this error and I can send you this link. But yeah, it will be on YouTube. You guys can. I don't want to email this big video content. I'm just going to post it there, so you guys can go repeat, watch anytime you want, kind of stuff. Okay. So yeah, it's going to be on YouTube there. Yeah, I guess that's it for now. And if you have any questions, I think there was a question there somewhere. Oh, also recording. Okay, when can we expect the to everyone? Fine. Yep. Google Drive, share the link. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, if it's a secret document, I might share it with you guys, but there is nothing here. Even if other people watch also, that's fine. It doesn't matter. I'm just going to put it on YouTube there. But yeah, that's it. So if you, once you're done, send it to me, send me the code. And if you have any questions also, you can shoot me in the email and then we can discuss. Okay. All right, guys. So I'm going to stop here, and I will try to have the next session on Saturday 5 p.m. But look out for emails, okay, from Praveen or whoever your recruiter is, okay. And for the guys, yeah, that's fine. So yeah, pretty much that's it then. Take care, guys. Yep. Have a good weekend. Bye.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you, Roger. Bye. Thank you.